All right, guys, we're back. Today, we're joined by a special guest, Pastor Amos Williams. And today we're going to talk about holiness, the current state of the church, and are we truly operating under the Spirit of the Lord? Plus, we'll dive in some of the controversial stuff, the Marvin Sapp stuff here in just a little bit. We'll get to it, guys. Welcome to the show, Pastor Amos.
It's good to be here, man. Thanks for the invite.
Man, thank you for joining us. Yeah. That means a lot to us.
It's my joy.
It really does.
It's my joy.
Yeah. All right. So, just off the top, straight to it, according to the scriptures, what is holiness?
Yeah. So holiness it means to be set apart for God. It means to be anointed for God's purposes. And so every true believer is holy. Every true believer is set apart for God's purposes. So at base, that is what it means to be holy. Now the outworkings of that look different, but at the root, to be holy means to be set apart for God's purposes.
Now, has the external church, this normally a building, has the building abandoned holiness for performance and popularity?
Yeah. So I would say there are more faithful churches in the world currently than there have ever been at any time in the world.
That's good.
But the reality is, so like my dad's a pastor. We just kind of talked about him a moment ago. One of the most faithful pastors that I know in the entire world. But his congregation is probably 30 people. He's not on TBN. He's not on the Word Network. And so those churches kind of fly under the radar. But what we see are the more performative elements of church.
Yeah.
In the media, on social media, and on those, Christian, networks as well. And so it would seem that the church universal has abandoned holiness. But I would say, in contrast to that, in reality, there are more faithful churches globally speaking, because the church is a global phenomenon.
Correct.
It's not just the church in Alabama. It's not just the church in the United States. But the church is a global phenomenon, and more than, again, reiterating the fact that more than any other time in history, right now, there are more faithful churches in the world than there have ever been.
So, and I like how you explain that, and I believe that myself. How can true believers pursue authentic holiness in a compromised system? The system you just mentioned, the mega churches, the YouTube churches, you know what I'm saying, which are reaching a lot of people, obviously, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, they run in the same plays, from back in the day, the TV commercial pastor, you know what I'm saying? Robert Tilton, no shade. He took a lot of money from my grandmother, Inez Orr.
Wow.
Yeah, in the 80s, I just love her and I miss her. But she sent her money to him just as much as she sent money to the to the physical church here in the city. You feel me? So you know what I'm saying? The TV evangelist has been a thing, but how can people practice authentic holiness without the compromise? Just shut everything out?
Well, I think what is helpful is being a part of a faithful Christian community. Like, you got to be a part of a faithful church, right? If sanctification is a part of the Christian lifestyle, if that's the outworking of our holiness, that happens within the context of a faithful church. So if you're going to, a church that is not faithful, it's going to be hard for you to grow in holiness. They're going to provide opportunities for compromise, rather than challenging you and holding you accountable if you're a part of one of those churches. And so one of the best things that anybody can do is to find somebody older, more wise, more mature in the faith, connect with that person, and grow in holiness in mentor-mentee type relationships. And then ask that person, hey, help me to find a faithful church, right? Which may, just being real, which may mean you might have to compromise on, some of the culture type stuff. Like they may not be singing, Thai tribute. They may not be singing, you know what I'm saying? But if your concern is true holiness, you'll be willing to make concessions on that.
Yeah, yeah. Holiness doesn't compromise. Holiness itself doesn't seem to compromise
Yeah.
at all. Not by the word.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Let's go to the state of the church. What do you see the biggest flaw in the modern church system?
I think the biggest flaw in the modern church system is biblical illiteracy. Like people don't know their Bibles, which which would make a person not knowing their Bible, which would make a person believe they're actually a Christian when they may not be. And so I think a lot of folk are in the church because the church is a cultural icon. And so if you grew up doing something, if you know what I'm saying, if you're looking to scratch a social itch or something like that, there's an automatic gathering space in the church that happens every Sunday, right? So there are tons of people who are in the church, they go to the church building, but they're not Christians at all. You know what I'm saying? And so that impacts the state of the church, where I believe, just being 100, I believe there are actual pastors who are standing in pulpits Sunday after Sunday that don't even believe in the authentic Jesus. You know what I'm saying?
That's a fact.
Yeah.
Can you bust it down a little bit more for us, pause?
Sure.
As far as when you say people going to church, doing the rituals, I heard the word culture and it made me think of cult. But anyway, like how they're not Christians, but it's unbeknown to them. In what way? Can you articulate that anymore?
Yeah, for sure. Because that authentic relationship with Jesus isn't there. Their goal is to scratch a social itch, and the church can provide that. The church can provide community. Now, I will say I would prefer a person to be in a faithful church or in church period than to not be in church, because that gives room for the Holy Spirit to work, right? But there's no sanctification that's happening in their lives. There's no pursuit of God in their lives. They're not practicing the spiritual disciplines of prayer and meditating on the word of God. They're not hiding the word in their hearts. They're not growing in the faith at all. But they are, you know what I'm saying? Just the same way that they get up and brush their teeth in the morning, it's a routine for them. Mm-hmm. And so in order to be a part of a culture, they are participating in the ritual aspects of church.
You know, when I was younger, I used to think that all the mothers and the deacons and everything was immersed in the word, as far as the actual the book and you know what I'm saying and some of the verses.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, chapters and verses. I thought they knew that, and once I got older and realized, you try to start talking to them and be like, hey man, and this right here, and I learned this, and what you think about that? And they like, oh, I have to check it out, or I have to look into that one because I ain't never even heard of that one. Like, I remember I got in my early 20s and boy, I'm talking about I grabbed a hold of Melchizedek and I started asking everybody about Melchizedek and nobody. Nobody. I was like, True. What?
Yeah.
Anyway.
And I get it.
Yeah. Sometimes it ain't the best experience to find out that some of your elders never, you know what I'm saying, they was just listening to what, like you said, whatever the leader in the pulpit and the culture that was there for a social situation. Yeah. And as humans, we're social people.
That's right.
We need each other.
Yeah, that's right.
You see what I'm saying? So it makes sense. Yeah. And I mean, I never looked at it like that.
Yeah,
I never looked at it from a social aspect.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Let's reaching stray sheep, which is ultimately the purpose of, you know what I'm saying, is us sitting down today, period. You know what I'm saying? Because, what does it look like today to leave your let's say you got 100 sheep and one strayed away. You know the word. Mm-hmm. And so what does it look like today for the shepherd to leave the 99 and go try to find the one?
Yeah. Well, I think it looks like, first of all, knowing your sheep. You got to know your sheep, which is not a knock at mega churches or anything like that. But it's a reality of just doing church, that if you get to a certain size, if you don't have capable and qualified pastoral staff, right, who are also qualified as pastors and elders. If you don't have that capability as a church, if one strays away, they're just another number. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta know your sheep. You gotta be the phrase that I like to use is you gotta smell like them. You gotta smell like the sheep, because in reality, with regard to our relationship with Jesus, we are sheep as well. The pastor is a sheep as well.
Fact.
You know, and so you gotta be amongst the people. And then what it looks like to go after that one, you'll recognize, hey, something's off, something's different, right? Like where's such and such? And then it looks like going into the I think the old church would say the highways and byways, right?
Yeah.
In pursuit of that one, you know what I'm saying? Because they are as important. Like if the church is a body, and it is, then if any part of the body is lacking, then it's gonna impact you. My dad would always give an illustration when I was a kid, like your little pinky toe is, smallest, appendage on your body, basically. But if it's impacted, then it's gonna impact the whole rest of your body. You're probably gonna walk with a limp, all of that. And so if we're missing one of our brothers and sisters from our flock, it impacts the body negatively. So we need to be intentional about going out to reach that person. And it may look, to answer your question even more directly, it may look a little unorthodox. You may have to go into some space, like Jesus. And I was preaching this just yesterday. Jesus was accused of being a glutton and a drunkard.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because of the people that he hung around.
Yeah.
Now, you don't want to just be super sketchy, you know what I'm saying? We just talked about holiness. But man, you may have to enter into some unorthodox spaces in order to get that one that left the flock. So
I think that's beautiful and exactly what may have to be done sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
When you guide in the flock. Okay, let's go into it. Tithes and offering.
Yeah.
How do you feel about tithes and offering? First of all, we sow a tenth to the Levite from the Levitical priesthood, from the Melchizedekian priesthood. Okay, it's all right there. And so are pastors able to tie themselves to the Levites?
So, man, that is a very loaded, very complicated, complex question.
I apologize. That's major.
Yeah, no.
They named me major.
Yeah, no, I'm with it. It's a good question, though, nonetheless. So my theological background would say that none of us currently living are qualified to be Levites, because you had to be in the Levitical bloodline. You had to be born of Levite parents in the tribe of Levi.
Levi, yeah.
Now, in a spiritual sense, I believe the Levitical priesthood lives on, and it would be more closely tied to, pastors and elders, more so than just like a musician or something. It'd be more closely tied to what the pastors are doing, because the Levites, the ones that were priests, and they were helping people with the sacrifices in the temple. Yes, they also led praise and worship as well, but they had a vast number of responsibilities. Yeah. Now, I believe, though, it's something we chopped it up about kind of offline, is that as believers in Jesus, who was not from the tribe of Levi, Jesus was from the tribe of Judah, and so he wouldn't have qualified to be a Levitical priest. But he came, I think it's Hebrews 7 says that he is of the priesthood of Melchizedek.
That's a
Melchizedek, right? And so the Melchizedekian priesthood was an eternal priesthood, a priesthood that lasts forever. Like if you look at the book of Genesis, I'm sorry, this is my thing. Like this is what I do. But if you go into the book of Genesis, I believe it's chapter 13, 14, somewhere in there, and you look at Melchizedek, he doesn't have a genealogy. No. Like he has no, he's like, boom, just out of nowhere. But that's symbolic of his priesthood. His priesthood is an eternal priesthood that has no beginning and no end. Jesus qualifies as a priest in the lineage of Melchizedek because his priesthood has no end, and he's also Melchizedek. Actually, the name Melchizedek means king of righteousness, king of righteousness. And so in the similitude of Melchizedek, Jesus is priest and king, eternally. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so we, by being true believers, are connected with that priesthood from Jesus, that royal priesthood, right? We're connected with Jesus, which gives us the right to be the church, a kingdom of priests, right? And so, yeah, I know I went on a rabbit trail just then, but that's my thing. Like I sit and study the Bible all day long. That's what I do.
And we appreciate you for sitting and studying the Bible all day long. That you really bless us with that. Thanks. But now to the subject matter. The Levitical priesthood is Old Testament. Mm-hmm. When Jesus came on the scene, he made all things new. Mm-hmm. And so he does not come from under there. So no, he would not have qualified for something old because he's something new. Mm-hmm. He made all things new. No Levite qualifies for what he qualified. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So when he was on the scene, his 3-year run, I don't think he received tithes or offering. But that's
No, he wouldn't have.
I just had to throw that out there. You know what I'm saying? Everything he said, the old and new. You know what I'm saying? And people don't evenly divide the word. I don't think because everybody just stay in the new. Yeah. And I think the old have a lot to do with the new. Absolutely. Because I think they back each other up. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I'm sorry I had to go on that, you know what I'm saying, messing up my words. But I think the old and the new back one another up completely. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think you need both of them.
So Jesus is, like, if you don't have the old, then the New Testament doesn't make sense at all. Because what do you do with Jesus as a figure? All of the prophecies that are given in the Old Testament, if Jesus is the Messiah, then he has to qualify for those prophecies in the old. So what do you do with Jesus if there's no Old Testament? You know what I'm saying? He's just a special figurehead. He's just as some would have referred to him, he's just a good teacher. But Jesus is fulfilling the prophecies of the Old Testament. He's fulfilling the prophecy of Genesis 3, where God says that the seed of the woman will crush the head of the serpent. That's Jesus. Jesus is the snake crusher. You know what I'm saying? Jesus is fulfilling the prophecy, I believe, of Jeremiah 31, where the new covenant is going to be established. Jesus is fulfilling, the prophecies in Psalm 1 and Psalm 2. Jesus is that royal son who, receives the scepter from God the Father. Jesus is there with the Ancient of Days. So Jesus is fulfilling all of these things in the Old Testament. And you have to interpret the New Testament through the Old. One of the, I guess I could say one of the issues with that biblical illiteracy that I was talking about is that people don't know the Old Testament. People don't know the Old Testament like that. And it's cool. You should read the Bible. Like the Bible's got some legit stories in it that'll blow your mind because it's not only is it God's word, but it's a cool piece of literature. You know what I mean? Anyway, Jesus is fulfilling Old Testament prophecy. So you got to know the Old Testament because the New Testament doesn't make sense if you don't have the Old.
That's a fact. What did you think about Marvin Sapp?
Just boom, like right into it.
Yeah. I mean, we was just talking about tithes.
Yeah.
I mean, we just talked about the Levites, tithes, what Jesus didn't take on his 3-year run. Yeah. And so now I want to know, how did you feel about, we just seen a guy on the, he's going viral for shutting the church doors, telling the ushers to close the doors a few times. And it seemed like he was serious. At first I thought he was joking. Yeah. Seemed serious. And then he said he wanted 40 racks. Yeah. And so that was, that throw you off a little bit. Yeah. And so I just, I got the honor of having a pastor here right now on That's Major. And man, that's major for you even joining us. Thanks. Yeah, but I just need to know what you think about, the pastor doing that. Was that cool?
Yeah. So I believe so. I'm gonna give an answer that's probably gonna like feel like I'm answering around your question, and I don't
not
mean
at
to.
all.
But here's my thing with it. Would I have done that? Absolutely not. Like that ain't the way that I get down at
That's a
all.
great answer.
You know what I'm saying? And so, but in contrast to that, though, there's a sense in which every believer has apostolic authority. That's what we were kind of just talking about, right? It's the priesthood of all believers. So we all have this sense of apostolic authority, and pastors in local churches that whatever local church. And again, I haven't even watched all of that clip.
Yeah,
by the way.
Yeah.
And so I have zero context for. I've seen people commenting on it online, but I haven't watched the whole clip. So anyway, but local churches they find most of the times a man and they say, hey, we believe that God is calling you to lead us. We believe that with our apostolic authority, we're going to hand the reins of this church over to you. We're going to give you apostolic authority to lead, to shepherd, to pray for us.
And we're going to give you the bag.
Well, in light of that, though, you have said, okay, I trust this brother. You know what I'm saying? Again, I have no context for the video, but you said, I trust this brother, to lead us. And so when he did what he did, you have submitted to that guy's authority, apostolically speaking. You said, okay, this is my guy. I'm going to rock with him. Now, with that said, if I were in that space, I'm out of there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not sitting under that. I would advise nobody to sit under that. But you got to know for yourself what you're willing to submit to. And if that's your thing, so be it. But for me, I'm not rocking with it.
I couldn't help but when I seen it, I paused, of course, to be serious about it. I paused for a minute. Mm-hmm. Was like, nah, I ain't messing with that because, you know what I'm saying, he a man of God. Mm-hmm. And we just don't, you know what I'm saying, really touch on, you know what I'm saying, I don't want to, that's not my thing. But then I seen his response to it. He had a response to it.
So he's responded to it?
He did respond to
it.
Okay. I'll probably put it up here on the screen somewhere.
Okay,
I called my uncle. And I asked my uncle what he thought, and he was just like, even if his vision was 40 bands, like, and not saying we can't circumcise the foreskin on a man's heart. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? Only God can do that. Amen. So we don't know what God put on a man's heart. But what I'm saying is it of God? Is the bag of God? Mm-hmm. Yeah, God wants you to live more abundantly, but did God put a 40,000 on your heart? Like it make you question that. So what I'm saying is, if I'm being led by a shepherd, I'm cool with whatever, you know what I'm saying, whatever, you know what I'm saying, however he want to lift offering or tithes or do his thing. Yeah. But when he put a dollar amount on it, to me, that seemed more sketchy than the closing of the doors. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So that was my only thing, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like putting a specific dollar amount on that, that's kind of, I wouldn't know by searching of the word, it don't say specifically, but it does specifically let me know that God kind of don't operate in that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? The bag like that, like 40,000. You feel me? When y'all get y'all, he did the math for one too, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Y'all get 1,000 of y'all get 20, and 1,000 of y'all get 20, and that's 40 bands. And so, you know what I'm saying? That was weird for me. So.
Yeah, he made the calculation. That wasn't something that he just went into. Like, that was planned.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So I can't say what God put on a man's heart. Mm-hmm. I already told you that. Mm-hmm. But I know how God operates. Yeah. I've been here for 41 years, and my bad. I got an inkling. I think I got an inkling of a clue of the way that the Lord operates. Yeah. And I don't think it's in specific 40,000, shut the door till you get it. Yeah. I don't know if it operates like that.
Yeah, I think that 2 Corinthians 9, there's a potential, and I'll say potential because, again, those are his folk, but there's a potential violation of 2 Corinthians 9 there where it says, don't give cheerfully. Don't be compulsory with your giving. And there's the potential, hey, close the doors. Close the doors. There's a potential that he's causing them to give out of compulsion rather than being cheerful in their giving. And so biblically, like I haven't seen his response.
Yeah, he did
but
have a response.
But it's definitely it's worth explaining. Hey, bro, what was your heart behind this? Because you could be causing somebody to sin in what you did.
Yeah, I grew up in the church where I seen some guys do that. They know how to raise offering. Okay, but they didn't. You know what I'm saying? Like they know how to raise offering. I mean, they clever, they good, they smart. Them boys can talk, but they didn't close the doors and put a specific number on how many people should give what. And I didn't see that one.
Yeah, and I don't like that slick. It feels manipulative, which manipulation is a form of witchcraft, and so I don't like none of that. Like, hey, the Lord has given you resources. Be a good steward of what He gave you.
Yes.
It's plain,
including the flock. No, starting with the flock.
Yeah.
Starting with the flock. Yeah,
and I would say also starting with myself. Like, hey, I need to be a good steward because, man, we got to make decisions with this money. Like me and the other pastors, me and the other elders, y'all have given us the responsibility now. Like, hey, y'all gave us what you worked hard for, what you earned. You know what I'm saying? And now so I don't like none of that slick stuff.
Yeah.
Like, so with my church, I do a state of the church address at the beginning of the year, every year. I tell my church how much money I make. I tell them where the money is going. And I have full transparency with the way that we're using the church's funds. And I think that is a good practice. You know what I'm saying? Now, you don't have to tell the church how much you make. If you don't want to do that, that's cool. But I think it's a good practice to let people know, even generally speaking,
where the bag going.
Where's the bag going? Because if I walk up, like I like sneakers. So if I walk up with a nice pair of sneakers
I'm
on,
thinking, did we pay for the pastor's sneakers?
Right. That's right. I want you to know what's going on with the money. You know. Yeah.
That transparency that you're talking about, not as far as I do agree with you, that the pastor shouldn't, pastor, whatever level a guy on, should not have to say exactly how much he's paying.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how much he's making. But I think transparency with building fund, transparency with tithes and offering, and what the church is doing or what they invest in the bag in, I do think this. Yeah. I think this should be just a normal thing.
Yeah, it should be standard practice.
Should be standard practice.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, man, I appreciate you, man, for joining us today, man. It meant a lot to me.
It's my joy, bro.
I can't believe we got it all done within the time frame that we. It felt like way longer. Than what I heard the click, so that meant 30 minutes, but it felt like an hour to me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But anyway, I do appreciate you joining the show, man. It means a lot to me. We definitely gonna have you back on the show.
Yeah, it's my joy, man. I have to get you on our podcast too.
I want to come. What can the audience members find you at?
All right, so I'm on all social media. Just my name, Amos Williams Jr. So if you type that into any social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, you'll be able to find me there. And I have a podcast as well, if you don't mind.
So you got a YouTube podcast?
I have a YouTube podcast. That's right.
Yeah. What's the name?
It's called Be the Hope. And the basis of our podcast is telling stories, telling folks stories to inspire hope in people, to say, hey, you go out and be the hope that people need to see, because it starts with us.
I've tried to live my life like that, man, and I try my best to not let my good be evil spoken of. You know what I'm saying? I still live, and I still do some worldly things, and I try not to let that just be in the forefront. You see what I'm saying? Because what people see and what people think does matter a lot. You know what I mean?
Amen.
So, especially when you're trying to lead people, push the culture forward. I ain't trying to lead nobody, but I'm not trying to mislead anybody. You see what I'm saying? But yeah, so Be the Hope.
Be the Hope podcast. Yep.
Be the Hope podcast. I'm coming on Be the Hope podcast.
Yeah. You definitely will be a guest.
Yeah, I want to come on Be the Hope podcast. I'm gonna be ready.
Yeah, it'll be good.
Yeah. Okay. So you can find Pastor Amos Williams at Be the Hope podcast right here on YouTube. Check him out, like, subscribe. Don't forget to like, subscribe here, and share this podcast right here, and watch this video right here also, guys. And that's major.